Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma231 here, back in Data, weekly Shonen Jump, issue number 32 of 2025. And I hope all of you are doing well. I'm doing well, and would you believe it? It's a Thursday when I'm recording this video and hopefully uploading it. If it's not a Thursday when it gets uploaded, or at least when you're viewing it, then I'm sorry, this video is not being presented to you in the way that I believe it deserves to be presented. Don't judge me for that. That's sort of how I just view Thursdays, you know? But all that out of the way, I recorded last weekly Shonen Jump video on like a Wednesday or a Thursday or something like that. I honestly forget when I put it out and when I recorded it, being it's like, my summer has been very, very weird and convoluted schedule-wise recently, meaning that I don't particularly have a schedule. It's like, oh yeah, Sunday Kagurabachi comes out. I sort of try to do that on the day of because that's when it gets the most views, and also whenever I enjoy doing that video the most is on the day of release, right? Because when it's not on the day of the release and I forget something major referencing in a chapter, it's like, well, I had time to do research, but I absolutely did not, right? But it's sort of one of those weird things where it's like, oh yes, I'm going to sit down here and talk about Jump a week after I talk about the last issue of Jump, because like, yeah, the next issue of Jump comes out here in like 3 or 4 days. It just feels wrong to read it then, you know what I'm saying? But I need to wait a week in between each time I read weekly Shonen Jump. Luckily for me, we have a break week in like 3 weeks from now, right? But like I said, this is issue number 32. Really, the most major thing happening in this issue of Jump is that we have a brand new series starting. Of course, it is titled Ping Pong Peril over here in English, and it just seems like it's going to be a weird, wacky, and fun series, and I honestly can't wait to talk about it along with the other 14 series we have to talk about today. Would you believe that? It's 14 series and not 15, which means this video has the chance to be 30 minutes shorter than the last one. Yes, last video ended up being like an hour and 23 minutes. For my sanity, I need to stop that, right? But either way, this was a very good issue of Jump this week, and while there are some conflicting chapters that I have a little bit of some weird feelings on, we also just have a lot of very interesting chapters of manga, and ones that I really just can't wait to talk about, right? And honestly, I was like, you know what, coming into this issue number 32 of 2025, how about let's like just change it up a little bit? And what I mean by that is I think we should work all the way from the top to the bottom as we normally do. We should flip it over and do it from the bottom to the top. So of course, starting off with Witch Watch instead of Kagurabachi, right? But of course, if you've never watched this series before, you don't know how this sort of whole thing works. It's very simple. I'm just going to be going through all of these series and rambling about them, whatever I feel like I want to say. If it's more of an in-depth discussion, that's how we do it. If it's not, well, I'm sorry, I don't know what I invited you all here for today, alright? But we're going to be pretty much going through all of that, and at the very end of the video, ranking all of these chapters from what I thought was my favorite chapter of the week, all the way down to my least favorite chapter of the week, and all of the other 12 spots in between, and also picking out the character who I thought just had a really cool moment, you know? And like I said, I want to do this a little bit differently this week, so let's start off with Witch Watch, chapter number 208. And this is one of my favorite type of genres of Witch Watch chapters. It feels like a little weird, like, oh yes, this manga, which has different chapters. We're going to split those up into genre-based chapters, but if you guys have read Witch Watch, you all know what I mean. This is a chapter all about Morito getting obsessed with stickers. And it's really this interesting thing to where these stickers sort of have like a larger lore that you have to discover wrapped around them. And it really seems like Morito is not seeing a lot of people online discussing this lore, so he sort of finds a need to put it all together in the end. And it's honestly a really nice and creative chapter, seeing all of these characters go through and do this. We even have a killer page at the beginning of this chapter with Keigo and Morito on it. I do really like how it looks. But it's just all of the cast getting deeply immersed into this thing, and by the very end of the video, we see that Keigo makes a YouTube video on his channel about it, and it's honestly just a very nice and wholesome chapter. I remember the Suika game chapter. I think that happened in like, what, gosh, was that 2023 or was that 2022 whenever that game was big and popular? But it was just a game about, or a chapter about Morito getting obsessed with that game, and we've seen it time and time again, but this was just a really good chapter of Witch Watch, and I always like when we just see Morito go down the hobby rabbit hole. It's always a good time. The Elusive Samurai, chapter number 210, was a little bit of an interesting one, and honestly, I really did enjoy it. We pretty much just see that Tadayoshi is taking a step back from the general relations and all of that stuff going on in the land of Kamakura and really all of Japan right now, right? And Tadayoshi, or no, it's Tadayoshi and Takayuji. I forget which name I said before, but Tadayoshi is pretty much taking a step back, and Takayuji of course, doesn't really like this. He doesn't want his brother to be in the picture anyway. So the end of the chapter is really getting to the point of, oh hey, would you look at this? We're going around the world of the elusive samurai, and yeah, Tadayoshi and all of his guys are pretty much being attacked here, even after Tadayoshi says, hey, I'm gonna step back. Takeuchi still tries to come after him, and it's this whole idea of, alright, we're going to get killed if we stay here any longer, and, like, we need to sort of mount a defense, we need to go visit some of our allies, and the very end of the chapter is building up to this whole idea of, oh, look at this, they're going to get saved by Suwa Yoritsugu, and Tokuyuki, who are like, whoa, they're here, and honestly, I just like seeing how Tadayoshi was portrayed in this chapter, and of course how Takayoji, like, literally one of the first images that we see in this chapter is Takayuji going around and referring to all of these various people as bugs, and he runs up to this guy, rips open his stomach and abdomen, and splits off his torso, his legs, and his two arms, and sort of, like, makes a star pattern on the ground. It's like, oh my gosh, that's gruesome, but sort of badass. But it's a little bit of an interesting chapter. It's also called Dark War 1351, which is like, that's definitely a name of a chapter, right? But I did enjoy this chapter of the Elusive Samurai, and it really feels like we're marching on towards the end of the series, which is just still really weird to think about, right? Blue Box, chapter number 202, continues off of the cliffhanger last time of Ayame was talking to her boyfriend Takasago, and they were going around, and Takasago wanted to go to an aquarium, while Ayame wanted to go visit all of her friends. And the last thing she saw last chapter was Kyo, standing there all around everybody, and oh, she was like, hey Kyo, why are you? And he's like, we're on a school trip, right? But of course, we see that Kyo is not alone in this chapter. We see that he's surrounded by all of the other badminton member teams and, like, everybody else, right? And we just see that they're all sort of, like, hanging out, talking with each other. And eventually, we see Kyo's like, hey, why are you two not going to Kyo Mizura Temple instead, right? Like, you've got to go if you're in Kyoto. It's, like, a big area, right? And they're like, hey, our group's head there right now, so why don't you just, like, go and come with us? We're about to hop on this bus and everything, right? And Ayame sort of looks over to her boyfriend, and Takasaga is like, oh yeah, sure, like, why not go? And like, awesome, let's all go then. Kiyomizura Temple, here we come, right? And as they're sort of on their way on this bus, sort of hanging there, we see the bus is extremely, extremely cramped, right? And eventually, Ayame gets separated from her boyfriend between all of these people, and makes it over to standing beside Kyo. Does she mean to? Not exactly, but it sort of just happens out that way, right? And Ayame just is like, hey Kyo, earlier and yesterday too, did you say all of those things on purpose? And Kyo's like, what do you mean? Like, what things, right? And she pretty much was like, hey, let's go take a photo together, and why don't we all go to Kyo Mizura Temple? And just like, it's almost like you knew that I was being considerate instead of acting how I normally would. And Kyo's like, I'm sorry, I mean, like, excuse me. She's like, gosh, like, never mind, right? She's like, I should have even spoken up at all, right? And Kyo just says, like, hey, you don't have to change who you are, Ayame. I'm here with you because I like the way you are now. And all of us think that way, right? As we just see the whole idea that Kyo was told earlier by Hina, and of course Nina as they were walking around, that Ayame was off with her boyfriend and that they were going to be coming back and meeting with everybody at 3 p.m. at Kyo Mizura Temple, right? And of course, Kyo sort of forced this in his favor, and also in the favor of being really nice to Ayame, right? We see that as they're sort of going and they get up to the temple, wow, Hina and Ayame finally reunite. Nina's there as well. I'm sorry, how could we ever forget Nina? Like, I'm sorry, right? But we see they're all reuniting with each other, just having a good time, and eventually, it's the whole idea of like, hey, if we're all here to hang out, Takasago, you join the badminton club group and let's go around and hang out, right? They eventually get over to this cliff that I guess has this sort of folklore tale around it of like people who would jump off of it to sort of like make their dreams come true, sort of this whole idea. And it's really an idea that persists throughout the rest of the chapters. All of this sort of goes back and forth, right? And the whole idea is like, hey, should we jump off? No, right? But eventually, as we just keep moving on, Ayame just sees all this interaction sort of going on, and she walks up and she's like, hey, I also don't have anything I'd throw myself off here for, but I want to have fun with everyone just as I am. And everybody's like, oh yeah, me too, let's all do this together, right? And eventually one of the badminton players just comes over and asks Tasusaga, like, hey, what made you fall for the manager? And we get a little bit of a flashback, and it's honestly really weird because I couldn't tell who Tasusaga was at first, because he used to have glasses, and without glasses, he looks a whole lot more like a character, but with glasses, I would say he resembles Joker from Persona 5. Have I ever played those games? No, but he's in Super Smash Brothers, so I sort of know, right? But either way, as we see they're just going and walking around, Ayame just had one of her breakups with her boyfriends, and she went over and was playing with a puzzle, right? And pretty much one of her friends asked, like, hey, Ayame, like, why are you doing that? And she just says, like, hey, I often do these sort of things after bad things happen to me. I almost never finish anything, but at least I can finish a puzzle. And we just see that this had a reaction in Tasusaga's heart, pretty much, right? And Tasusaga pretty much just says, like, hey, it piqued my interest, and I often thought about how I would have treated Ayame better, right? And eventually, he walks over to Kyo and just says, like, hey, I'm glad you claim, and, like, Kyoto really all is about Kizo Mizudora Temple. I feel like I'm saying that wrong. It's Kiyo Mizudora Temple. Okay, maybe I haven't, maybe I haven't, right? But either way, Kyo's just like, hey, you shouldn't be, like, apologizing to me. Like, I should be apologizing to you. I basically forced you guys to come here, right? And Tasusaga was like, oh, but you did it for Ayame, didn't you? Like, even though she told me she wanted to be with her friends, I was keeping her from that, right? And Kyo just is like, I don't know where you got that in your head, but I just did it for me. I just wanted to see Moria together with Chono and all of the others, right? And Tasusaga is then sort of, like, watches Kyo walk away, and Taiki sort of walks up and is like, hey, that guy's kind of unfair, isn't he, right? And Taiki's like, you can say that again, right? But the whole idea is that Kyo is doing this all for his own happiness, and he's not really doing it for, like, some selfless nature. He just wants to be happy for himself, right? As Kyo looks on his phone and sees a picture of him and all of the other badminton players taking a picture together, oh wow, Ayame's in there, and he's just happy to see that. And it's honestly just a really nice chapter, all centered around Kyo, Tasusaga, and Ayame, and this love triangle that's obviously been forming for a while, but gosh, if I just don't tell you, it was a really good chapter of Blue Box, right? Akane Banashi 165 is up next, and this chapter is all about, oh wow, would you believe this? Hikaru is starting her performance, right? There's a little bit of this really fun thing that happens in the beginning of this chapter, where it's just everybody thinking like, hey, I didn't realize how low the scores would be, because we see the second contestant went, his name was Sardu Kampude. Of course, he's not important enough for us to focus on, so we're not going to focus on him, right? And we see all of the scores that he got during his Una Prize. He got a 74 from Shomei and then 90s from two of the other judges. And it's like, oh wow, that's a pretty low score. And it's this whole idea that with just the presence of an Okanban being here, it really just makes the attitude of everybody change. Like, they're not paying attention to the Rakugoka. They're paying attention to how Shomei reacts. And it's honestly just a really interesting thing, right? But as all of this is going on, we see Hikaru come out into the stage. She doesn't have any preamble. She just sits down and starts her story. And we don't know what her story is called yet, but we just see that she is telling this pseudo ghost story, right? It's about a man and a geisha, and he really wanted this geisha, or this maid, I'm sorry, to like him, go out with him. So it's this whole thing of where she would do this thing of a stack of plates. Oh no, he steals one of the stacks of plates and hides it behind his back. And oh no, she doesn't have one. So she gets hung over a well and then slashed open, and all of her guts fell into the water, right? And ever since then, this lady's ghost comes and haunts this guy pretty much, right? And as we get this really scary moment, all of a sudden, Hikaru just, like, switches the attitude over, as it's like, oh yeah, would you believe it? She still appears to this day in this house. Like, let's go over there and check it out, right? And it's this whole idea to where Akane is on the side of the stage and is looking like an absolute menace, pretty much. And the whole idea is Hikaru is a Rakugoka who really needs the competition to thrive her best. She's a fine Rakugoka, but it means even more whenever she has some big rival to go against. And of course, that's Akane, which will bring all of her Rakugo to larger heights, right? Well, these three guys are going around to this well where this maid currently is still residing. And oh, as they're going around, oh man, it's almost like this body raises for the ground as we get this really interesting 2-page spread on pages number 16 and 17. It's like, yeah, that's definitely like some horror manga type shit. Like, gosh, like, I don't know if I like how that looks, right? And pretty much Hikaru's just going like, oh, your soul, I curse you. And the whole idea is the reason she's able to do this is through a rivalry with Akane. It's a fine chapter. I honestly, out of these 3 rivals, Hikaru has always been my least favorite out of all of them. It's always been like, yeah, Akane, Karashi, and Hikaru. So it's sort of like, I like her, but I don't know. I just can't wait to see Karashi more, sort of. Though I did not think this was a bad chapter by any means. Ultimate Exodus Kyoshi, chapter number 51, is up next. And of course, we begin this chapter on the little bit of a weird note that we ended off last one of, no, Yuta did not just straight up kill Sasaki. He killed him and then sacrificed himself to revive him. And oh, look at this. We get a color page where we see Sasaki standing there, we see Kyoshi's face, and we also see Yuta's face. Did you know Yuta had white hair? I certainly didn't. But it's honestly a little bit of an instant color page, and it just shows how the Shonen Jump editorial department is really trying to make sure this series survives, right? But it's this whole thing to where, oh man, Sasaki's been revived. He goes over, and Yuta's just like, oh good, you're awake, Mr. Sasaki. I know it's too late for me. I'm sorry, but can you stop the Black Parade? And it's all thanks to you I'm able to die a human like I always wanted to, right? And Sasaki's like, oh no, Yuta, I'm so sorry. I should have realized you were suffering way before this. Like, hey, I'm so sorry, Yuta. I'll make sure to stop the Black Parade for you. It's always the senior's job to clean up the messes his stupid junior makes, pretty much, right? Oh no, Yuta ends up dying in Sasaki's arms. Oh no, that's so sad, right? He pretty much says, like, high stakes, watch Yuta for me. There's still something I can do. I'm going to put an end to the Black Parade. I'm going to protect everyone. Oh no, he just died and presumably got revived. He's not doing too hot, you know? But it's at this point where the chapter takes a little bit of a different turn. As we just see, oh look at this. It is June 6th at 4 a.m. Turn to page. Kyoshi is just punching a hole straight into Asurarof's gut. It's honestly a really awesome page turn. It's like, oh yeah, all this stuff is Sasaki. That looks like it's gonna hurt pretty much, right? But we see Kyoshi's going through doing all of this damage against him. And Asurarof's just like, oh, it's been centuries since anyone's made my body ache like this. Oh man, would you believe it? All of the 13 club have been eliminated at this point, right? Okay. Honestly, you wouldn't believe it, but I was very fond of all of them, right? And yet these exes dared, they had the gall to do all that to my subordinates. Well, it doesn't matter. They weren't good enough if they weren't surviving anyway. Hey, I could destroy the world in a minute. Did you know that? I am that big and scary, even though I haven't really looked like it, being that you're so strong, Kyoshi, right? But they're pretty much going through fighting back and forth, and the whole idea is Kyoshi's like, hey, they've all risked their life for me, so there's only one thing I can do, and that is beat you, as it looks like we're going to be finally getting the full-on Asurarov and Kyoshi fight by the end of this chapter. Was it a bad chapter? Inherently not, but there was a promise of some moments in this series, like, oh gosh, when a few chapters ago we had all the Sosuke fight versus the third Demon Lord or whatever, Kurose Sada I think was his name, that was just an amazing shonen fight, and everything with Yuta and all of that, like, it was okay. I think it would have been much more of a bigger and more prolific moment if it's like, oh yeah, Sasaki dies here, and it's up for Yuta to go through that redemption arc. Is it something we have seen before? Yes. Was it something a lot of us were predicting? Yes. And granted, Sasaki is alive. It's sort of like a subduction, or however you say it, a subversion of expectations in arguably one of the worst ways, in my opinion, that we get here. And I'm honestly just having a lot of mixed thoughts based on that. But I think it was an interesting moment last chapter, but gosh, could you not have Sasaki being like, no, you actually need to live on, and him giving his life just to reaffirm Yuta as somebody who needs to live? That could have easily happened, right? But I don't know. Ultimate Exodus Kyoshi was fine this week, but I'm honestly starting to feel my goodwill with this series is dropping a little bit as time goes on. Hematin chapter number 49 is next, and I think I found my new favorite girl in Hematin, and that is Sumire. This is a Sumire-based chapter, and while I do like Kana, while I do like Hamari, while I do like Hanoka, is that the, yeah, it's the art character, I don't know. I just also really like Sumire at the same time. Sumire is very happy because today a new drop of the Hema Riz line comes out, and it's like, oh my gosh, that means they change up all the stands and everything, which means I have to go to the local beauty store to do all of this, right? She runs into Iamori, of course, being that's like, there's a main male character. If there's a chapter not without the main male character, then you're writing a harem series wrong, you know what I'm saying? But pretty much as all of this is going on, Iamori stops by because as we sort of get, Sumire wants to show Iamori more about Hamari in the effort to get him to like Hamari more, right? But by the end of the chapter, it really seems like there may be something brooding with like, yeah, we're going to tease that Sumire has a chance in the race, but we all know that she doesn't, right? Honestly, I really did like this chapter, and I don't really feel like going very in-depth into it, but I just thought this was a really good time seeing Sumire. I think she's just really funny, and just her and Iamori going around, she's like, oh man, I'm a big fan of all of this, even though I don't know how to act all too girly, and Iamori's just like, none of us care, like, you're thinking way too overboard about those girls seeing you and that you're going to devalue the power of the line in those people's eyes. Like, it doesn't matter that much, it's a makeup brand, like, it doesn't matter who wears it, that's the whole thing about Hamari, right? I thought this was a very good chapter of Hema 10, and I did like it, right? Next up, we're going to be talking about the new series in Jump, Ping Pong Peril, chapter number 1. Now, say that chapter title, or that series title 3 times fast. Ping Pong Peril, Ping Pong Peril, Ping Pong Peril. Maybe it's not that difficult, right? But the whole idea is that we've got this main character whose name is, I absolutely forget right now. Yes, our main character's name is Tiara, and he has a sister named Momo. And we see that, there was a certain point when Tiara's mother died of an illness, and several days after that, his father disappeared, leaving me and my sister a debt of 1 billion yen. This is Tiara Mikado. He is a second-tier high school student, right? And the next thing we see is this asshole standing in his house. He is a debt collector who has a Kansai accent. I'm really glad we know about all of that. And he's 29 years old, pretty much getting ready to take and sell his sister Momo, who is 16, off to, like, slavery or arguably something much worse that I don't feel like saying because of YouTube's all of their rules, but we all have a guess of what it is, right? This guy isn't very good. And it's this whole idea of like, hey, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Oh, would you look at all of this? And eventually when Tiara's like, no, I'm not going to let any of this happen, he goes down to grab a knife to pretty much be like, hey, I'm going to protect Momo no matter what. This debt collector pulls out a Glock, right? It's not a Glock, it's just like a pistol. But either way, he pulls it out, points at the face like, would you believe this? I'm gonna shoot you, right? But as all of this goes and happens, he fires off the gun, and Tiara's barely able to move his head out of the way of it, as all of a sudden, this woman just suddenly appears in the room and just says, like, hey, you've got something to do later, debt collector guy, I'll see you later, and just says, like, hey, Tiara, you need to make a lot of money, right? Well, I have a proposition for you, pretty much, right? And Tiara's like, well, if it'll help protect me and my sister, then I will absolutely do it, even if I've got to kill somebody or do anything crazy like that, right? But this girl just is like, oh no, it's not anything that crazy. Tiara Mikado, I just want you to play ping pong. Whoa, that's absolutely crazy, right? But a little bit later, exactly 2 hours later, by the way, we see that they make it to a really fancy hotel. And they go all the way up to the top floor where there is a super VIP room, right? And as we are going to see here, Tiara is going to have a ping pong match against the debt collector guy from earlier, who specifically brought sunglasses, right? It's this whole idea of each person has to put 1 million yen on the line, and hey, if you win, you get to keep it, right? And Tiara's like, this is like not a good deal for me. If I lose, that means my debt is going to increase to 102 million yen, or what, it was a billion yen he owed or something stupid like that, right? Yeah, 1 billion yen. I'm sorry, 2 million yen on top of that isn't really too much more, right? But we see these two start to play this ping pong game, and it starts to be a little bit weird. It's like, oh my gosh, all of the lights in this room make it so Tiara can't focus on the ball. And eventually, as we will learn, this is not normal ping pong. It's an underworld ping pong game where anything goes, also known as Ping Pong Peril. Really good way to get the chapter title in there. I thought that was really funny, right? And hey, there's only 2 rules in the rule book. Rule 1 is play ping pong, right? And rule 2, anything is allowed as long as you win, right? They go through and play ping pong, and it's this big thing of, well, like, oh my gosh, the ball is a flashbang, and they're just going back and forth playing ping pong, and Tiara is really overwhelmed, right? Like, he even, he burns his arm on some of the flames that come out of one of these, flashbang balls, pretty much, right? And it's this whole idea where he has this really big recklessness here in the game, right? The room all around them starts to catch on fire. There's this golden ping pong table sitting in front of them. And Tiara just closes his eyes to play ping pong. And the deck collector guy is just absolutely shocked by this, right? As we see that Tiara scores the final point on him pretty much. And oh, would you believe this? He's absolutely crazy. All of his misfortunes have made his thirst for victory far greater than anyone else's. Whoa! That's crazy. And Tiara goes through, wins a game of ping pong at the end of the day, literally taking the ping pong ball and hitting it into this guy's cheek. It's honestly a really nice visual to see this asshole get completely destroyed, right? But either way, Tiara cleared off a little bit of his debt, and from here, it's his second life diving into the fierce world of Ping Pong Peril. This was a really fun chapter, especially a really good first chapter. I don't know if this had a one-shot somewhere, but I can definitely understand why this would have been an amazing one-shot to be not only turned into a manga series on its own, it's just a really fun thing, and honestly, I hope it keeps up all the very wackiness of like, oh no, I'm so far in debt, we're going to be meeting all these wacky ping pong guys. It's honestly just a fun, wild, and wacky sports series. I really did enjoy this first chapter of Ping Pong Peril, right? Ekinem Bros chapter number 2. This is honestly one of the most mediocre chapters I've read in a while. Literally, we see Nobunaga. 2 years pass, he's enjoying running, he gets trained up to do all this running, and now he's going to be going to a separate college than the one all of his friends go to, with the whole idea of someday he should see all of his friends in the Ekiden. It was a fine enough chapter, but honestly, it was just a little bland, and coming back off it, there's not really much I remember being like, oh man, I really need to focus on that aspect of the chapter, when, yeah, it was just fine. Like, there's not really anything else to say about it. I hate to say it, but I think Ekinem Bros is going to be our worst chapter of the week by far, right? Kaidegami chapter number 3 is up next, and of course, this is a big chapter. This decides whether or not I want to keep reading this series or not. And spoiler alert, I very much think I do, right? As we see that Chiyo and Kyo end up making it to the ancient town of Tainrui. It's so weird. It's like, yes, these these Chinese names, I don't know if I'm pronouncing them right, because I want to pronounce them in the way you'd say it in Japanese. It's like Tianrui, but it's like, then I think I'm also saying it wrong, being that it's a Chinese name. What am I supposed to do here, pretty much, right? And the whole idea is that this is where Chiyo said her acquaintance lives, right? And Cole is just going around sort of exploring the town, and oh man, there's a bunch of donkeys in this town. That's very weird, right? Eventually, they make it to this library or this bookstore called Zeibai Books, where, oh, this is where Chiyo's friend supposedly lives, but it seems like completely abandoned. Like, this is a really weird thing, right? And Chiyo seems to sense something weird going on in the area, and pretty much says, like, hey, Ko, let's go ahead and get out of here, right? As most importantly, in this shot, it's honestly very nicely tucked away in the background, we just see a picture frame and a young girl standing inside it, right? Well, as they leave the area, they're like, oh man, why is, like, nobody here, and why is everybody just these weird donkeys? Until all of a sudden, a horse-drawn carriage, which is actually being carried by 2 donkeys, walks in instead, right? As we see that, oh man, there's this baker-like woman, or this cooking, I don't know, or she's got like a ramen pop-up shop thing pretty much, or I don't even know if it's wrong. I feel like the more I'm digging myself into a hole here, the worse it's becoming, right? We see this traveling salesman type person, and oh, look at this, they've got a young girl working with them. Right, eventually she just offers like, hey, I've got this Xiaobing flatbread, it's really good if you want to have it. Kyo goes to eat it, but as what comes over and happens, this girl slaps it out of his hand, and we see the woman who is running all of this isn't very happy. And we see she's like, hey, what's wrong with you, you worthless old brat, and goes pretty much go around and slap her, but Ko eventually comes in, just is like, hey, no, don't do it. That's enough. Like, there's no reason to hit her. Like, she just made a mistake. You can easily make a new one, so what is the problem, right? And the girl just is like, hey, thank you very much. And Ko's like, hey, no, it's totally fine. It's like, wait a second. Have I seen you somewhere before? And he's like, oh, do you just, like, work here for your mom or something like that? And the girl just says, like, oh, yeah, like, yes, I really enjoy helping out my mother in this way, right? And eventually we just see, like, oh, would you look at this? As Ko sits down to get some food, the lady appears behind him holding a knife. Oh, that's not very good. Chiyu pretty much says, like, oh, I know who this is. You are another Shinguai, and this isn't very good. I've heard about you in the past. You know that boy over there? He's my vessel, and that's why you targeted him, pretty much. You knew that without him, I would be able to unleash my full power, right? So, hey, the reason all these people are donkeys is because it's the Shinu guy who turned them into them, right? Her name is Bankwayo-san Nizagiti. I think I butchered that name, but sort of how it goes sometime, you know, right? But eventually we see that Ko comes over, grabs some utensils, pretty much stabs it into the lady's face, and oh, would you look at that? All of the donkeys in this town are the people. The people just didn't disappear, they just got turned into donkeys, right? And he pretty much grabs a girl and just is like, hey, we need to get you out of here. And the girl's like, no, wait, no, we can't. As we understand that the two donkeys carrying the carriage are this girl's mother and father, right? As we see that one of them, their stomach has pretty much been cut open by the Shinguai. But oh, Kyo comes in to save the day, or not Ko, Kyo. Ko comes in to save the day, swinging a sword in his new Shinu guy form, coming through and protecting the girl and these donkeys, right? And it's the whole idea where she's like, oh, this is really weird. So this is what happened to all the people here. But even him, my friend, like, there's no way they wouldn't have recognized San Nigazati. Like, it's just so weird. Like, he wouldn't have been turned into a donkey. Like, there's absolutely no way. As the whole idea is Ko's just like, hey, I'm a little bit angry. I'm going to finish off this Shinguai at the end of the day. I really like this chapter. I thought it was really good building up to our next arc, and I am definitely interested to see where this series goes. And yeah, it's honestly just a really fun concept of by eating this person's food, you turn into donkeys, and that's why there's nobody in this town. I thought this chapter of Kaitagami was very, very good, and I can't wait to see more of this series in the future. Harukaze Mound, chapter number 4 is up next, and very succinctly put, we meet the rest of the team that Ibuki gathered up for this high school team, right? Of course, we also learn a little fun fact of like, hey, this school was co-ed the entire time, but now it's like, oh, hey, it's no longer co-ed, and the principal really wanted a baseball team, so pretty much helped out, had Ibuki help all of this stuff, right? We start the chapter as we see that Nagiharu is actually texting with Alkaze, which is a really cool note that, like, even though they are rivals, they are still brothers and have a really good relationship despite all of that, right? But of course, this chapter is all about meeting the Hinazakura High School team. As we go around, we see a few of these characters in action pretty much, right? One of these guys named Satomi just followed around by a lot of girls, like, oh man, just look at that, he's a really nice, pretty boy, right? And there's another character named Yanagi as we see that, oh man, look, he's carrying like a stack of books almost like 10 feet tall, like, oh my gosh, that's absolutely crazy, right? He just seems to be a completely stand-up guy, right? Ibuki just is like, right guys, the Hinazakura High School basketball team starts today, or baseball team, my bad. And hey, I've gathered you all here today. Ibuki gathered himself and 7 other players, and also 2 other players just joined us. And oh, look at this, our club advisor is the principal. Makes a whole lot of sense, right? He's like, hey, my name is Ibuki Hayama, who are all of you people, right? As we get introduced to Satomi Kingura, Kaipei Wakamori, Yuma Hodaka, Kingo Yanagi, Iroha Minose, and Masayosuke Ushiwara. Those are all the people that were recruited, of course, along with Nagiharu, and the other 2 characters, Eiji Urasaka and Saku Natane. They're just sort of rounding out the cast. Ibuki didn't really get them, but he's happy to have them there, right? He even just like goes and calls out all of their skills, right? And a lot of this chapter is all about seeing how Ibuki has come together to make this team the most interesting team he can pretty much make it. And he had an injury whenever he was playing baseball whenever he was really young, but over time he's just sort of been getting over it, and he's really happy to be back on the field once again, right? And the whole idea is it looks like they're going to have a scrimmage match coming up soon, and if they win this, they can make more connections, get more practice games in to eventually be able to go through and win the big Koshin and stuff and all of that, right? Really good chapter. I like being introduced to all of our characters finally, and yeah, I just don't think you can go wrong with this chapter of Hinu Zakura Mound. Or no. Oh god, no. Harukaze Mound. Why can I not believe what this chapter was called for a second? I did think it was a fun time, though. Odor of the Flame, chapter 9, is up next. Very succinctly put, this was a chapter. It's really still suffering from that whole idea of, it's just a really weird pace, in my opinion. We see that Odor and Syndra are making it down to where the Iron Spirit is located, and there's a lot of really cool things here. Oh, it's this niche thing here in this area, making this entire tunnel that spirals all the way down, covered in ice. Well, how else are they going to get down it? By riding the cart like a mine cart down it, pretty much, right? And by melting some of the ice, you can make it super, super slick, and yeah, it works really well, and they get all the way down. Oh no, there's a break into path. Order uses like a stick or a sword to pretty much like bounce them off of there, and he slows them down, melting chunks of ice into water and reforming them in the moment. It's a lot of really cool stuff. I just didn't feel anything while reading this chapter. Eventually, it's this whole idea by the end of the chapter, we see that Odor has met up with this guy named Surad of the Blade Horn, of course, one of the 6 Ice Devil horns that's here pretty much, right? He's got an interesting design, I like it, and the whole idea is that he comes up and announces his presence to Odor before fighting him, as Odor and Syndra end up fighting the, oh wow, this is the Iron Spirit's altar. If we melt this ice, that's how we can do it. And we see that, oh gosh, what's this guy's name again? Sorted just is like, oh hey, you don't need to worry about melting the ice. Beat me and it will melt all on its own, pretty much, right? Man, Odor goes around, starts to bring out his fire sword, and they're going around doing all of this stuff. And we see that Sorad is just absolutely more powerful than he could ever be, just like pushing him back and forth, all of that various stuff. And he's like, hey, good thing for like slowing down your boys right there. If not, you would have lost your arm, right? Until eventually it's this whole idea of like, man, this guy is a warrior. And oh, look at this, they're getting ready to face off. I don't know. I love the art style we get here. I love some of the ideas, but just the way it's put into this story, it's hard for me to feel anything at all. But opposed to a series like Ekinen Bros, at least I am remembering what happens in the chapters after reading them, instead of being like, oh yeah, he's going to a different college. Is his name Nobunaga? Oh yeah, that's right. So on one hand, I'm still enjoying Odor of the Flame, but I just feel like for much promise as this series has, it's really going down a Hunter's Guild Red Hood route. And I just don't want to see that for this manga and for the author in general. Yuki Kawaguchi, I think that's what his name is. But yeah, that's all I can really say about Odor of the Flame chapter number 9. Kill Blue chapter number 108 is up next. I almost said 1008, and I'm like, wait a second. This isn't One Piece, right? But honestly, this is a very good chapter where we just set up an idea at the beginning, and it comes full circle at the end, right? It's this whole idea, oh man, after all of the various stuff, Juzo has caught a cold. It's not normal for him, he's a world-renowned hitman, but sometimes killers get colds. That's sort of how we do it around here, right? But either way, it's this whole idea of where the whole Met Club's like, alright, let's go visit his house and just help him out a little bit. Let's be the good friends, being that he's been such a good friend to us, pretty much, right? And as all of this is going on, we see that Nekoda is having a phone conversation with Ogami's wife. I don't remember her name right now. I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue. I just don't remember, right? But either way, it's this whole idea of, oh hey, there's this drug that turns Ogami into a younger child again, and we see that Nekoda asks, like, hey, if me or Inukai ate it, would we, like, turn into a younger version of ourselves, or, like, would we grow old or anything? And as we learn, it only affects somebody who has been stung by the wasp venom, of course. It's only an agent that deals with that, pretty much, right? we see that everybody sort of comes over and is like, oh, hey, we're here to help Ogami. The whole home ec club's there. Nakoda lets them in, and wow, they just go through and completely help out Ogami. And Ogami's like, hey, thank you guys so very much, right? Well, while they're waiting to do all of this stuff, we eventually come to a moment where, oh, would you believe this? As we're going around, Nakoda says, hey guys, you guys can eat all of the fancy candy we have up on the counter. Ogami won't mind whatsoever. So as they're sort of going through and eating all of it, we see that, of course, Nakoda is talking to Inukai, like, they both know the whole deal. They are both cold-blooded murderers. Of course they'd be hanging out with each other while all of the girls and Shin are hanging out in the other room, right? But then, there's just a piercing yell as Ogami wakes up and everybody sort of runs out like, oh my gosh, like, what is this? As they're just like, oh, no, Norin, like, how did she change so much? Like, how can this be? Norin, like, she's a grown-up. Somehow, Norin is an adult now. Dun, 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 dun. This was a very nice execution on the whole idea of, there's been these ideas for a little while that maybe Norin is more to her than really meets the eye. Of course, her whole idea of, like, I don't like how older people treat me and all that various stuff, being that she maybe was an older person like Ogami was at some point. And of course, here in the moment, we sort of have that revealed as we see that Norin ate some of this candy that messed with the wasp venom in her body. And yeah, it's honestly just a really interesting reveal for Kill Blue to be doing 108 chapters in. Not that I'm complaining at all, because, I mean, I've been reading this series for 108 chapters. That somehow feels wrong to say, but I just very interested to see where we go next. And yeah, Kill Blue 108? Yeah, I thought this was a pretty interesting chapter, and decently interested to see where this goes next, because, like, unlike for Ogami, who nobody knows his secret, now all of them may know Norin's secret. Very intriguing, right? We're going to skip Ichi to Witch real quick and just go to Kagurabachi, being that I don't really have too much to say about this chapter. I've made a full-length video on this chapter on the channel, and to be honest with you, this chapter is cool. We see that the whole thing, like, hey, Chihiro and Samura are going back and forth fighting, and by the end of the chapter, it's this whole idea of Samura not only opening his eyes up to the world physically, but opening up his heart to living on and seeing Iori in the moment once more. It's a really beautiful chapter, but I've come to the realization that I just don't care about Samura, Chihiro, and Iori as much as I care about some of the other characters like Aruan, Hakuri, and Shiba. It's like, just for some reason, I don't care about these guys. Like, I feel like I should, and like, everybody's reactions like, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful, I'm gonna cry. And I understand, yes, it's very nice and beautiful, and I do like panel just Samura opening his eyes up to the world, but I can literally say my reaction whenever I read this was, oh, huh, that's cool. And then we get to Ichi to Witch where I'm like, let's go, Gokuraku, you're amazing, I want you to go with Ichi, thank you, Richi, you let him go, this is amazing. And I'm just not really feeling that for Kagurabachi. It's one of these things where I sort of feel wrong being that I review Kagurabachi on the channel, and in my video, I really talked about how I feel like I may be losing a little bit of love with this series, but I really think it's this idea of like, no, I'm still very much enjoying this series, I just don't care about Chihiro. I don't know, he's cool, yeah, but I don't know, man, but that's really what I gotta say about Kagurabachi. Was it a bad chapter? No, not by any means. It was beautiful, poetic, and gosh, if you don't say that, like, oh yes, that was a really cool moment of Samura opening up his eyes, then I don't want to be friends with you, right? But either way, it just wasn't up to the standards that some other Kagurabachi chapters have recently been rising to, right? But either way, next up is Ichi to Witch, chapter number 41, along with the final chapter we have to talk about today. I've only been recording for 46 minutes. I am doing a good enough job, right? But of course, as I alluded to here a minute ago, this chapter is all about Richiya pretty much letting Gokuraku know that he can be pushed away from the kingdom of Kagami, right? As it's this really cool thing where they're walking on the rooftops in the area, and Gokuraku's like, you are technically the queen of Kagami, you know? Like, do you think queens are supposed to climb around on rooftops and sneak into people's windows and all of that stuff, right? And they sort of just reminisce on being kids and how they used to get yelled at this so many times growing up, right? It's honestly a really nice thing. But as they're sort of walking around, they're really just talking about everything and almost nothing at the same time. As Richiya's like, man, it took so long, but I finally offered flowers at Mother's grave. And Gokuraku's like, yeah, I saw it. Also, your coronation was just, like, completely awesome. Congrats on that. And, like, hey, your speech was also really, really cool. And Riichi just says, like, I mean, thank you for all the kind words, brother, but honestly, it should have been you who should have been crowned and not me. And Gokuraku's like, no, I couldn't have been. Like, I dethroned Bakugami. I dumped everybody's sorrow back onto them. Like, all the people hate and fear me now. Like, I can't really do much in front of the public, but not that really any of that matters. You deserved to be our queen and crowned anyway, right? And he says, like, hey, like me, you were always a good student, and the way that you know how to run a country and I don't, you are the one who need to be the queen here at the moment. And he just starts to go on all this various stuff, like, you've got all of this to do, and, like, Bakugami gave us our prosperity back, and, like, there's so much we could do now that I defeated that guy, which means you can be queen. I'm telling you, you need to be queen. It doesn't really matter, right? But as all of this is going on, Riichi eventually decides to go and read Gokuraku somewhere, right? As we see, they pull up into the royal or the royal castle or whatever it is, courtyard. As we see, there's a bunch of people, like, sitting on the ground who are just like, oh, hey, please let me in. He's in there, right? The Prince Gokuraku, like, I beg you. Please let me see the Prince Gokuraku. Like, I want to apologize to him for all the terrible things I said. Like, he was fighting for us the whole time. Like, I said so many horrible things. At least give him my letter. Like, I want to throw himself at my feet and apologize. Like, let me tell him I'm sorry. Prince Gokuraku. Prince Gokuraku, we are sorry. And as they're just sort of going through all of this, we even see the main person who was so enthralled with Bakugami before, like the one, the head priest, just like, hey, he wasn't a traitor at all. He's our prince who loved our country more than anyone. You're the hero who saved Kagami. And we see that almost all of the residents of Kagami are here singing Gokuraku's praises. And Riichi just says, like, oh yeah, this started 2 days ago and it's only gotten bigger. They all want to speak to you and apologize to you, Gokuraku. And she's like, hey, for 10 long years, I made you carry the full burden of our country. And for that, like, I sincerely apologize. And thanks to you, we can get back on our feet. But at least let me put it into words once. You saved us and you saved our country. So thank you. You are the pride of Kagami. Gokuraku, like, just thank you again. And Gokuraku says, like, hey, thanks you, but, like, hey, I didn't really do much of anything. But Riichi's like, hey, besides, you never deserved any of the blame, not when I let Bakugami in the first place, right? Gokuraku sort of just tries to dissuade her from all of this. But Riichi says, like, and that's why I have to be the king. Even if our people hate me and criticize me for bringing that beast in, I'm willing to stay strong and, like, live my life, and I will be prepared to shoulder this country pretty much, right? But hey, you've already carried that burden for more than long enough, so sit down. I'm not going to bind you to this country any longer. Gokuraku, listen. You are free. And she's like, and Gokuraku's like, no, like, free? Like, how could I? He's like, no, free. Look at all of these people. No one is afraid of you. No one hates you. No one is carrying any grudge. Right now, our people only want one thing for you, and they just want you to be happy. As you love and want the best for our family and our country, we all love and want the best for you too. Whatever you choose, we don't care. We are going to support your decision. Like, hey, if you want to stay with us, that's fine, but think it over. Do what your heart tells you to do. Live for yourself now. You don't have to swallow those feelings anymore, Gokuraku. As we see that Riichi almost pushes Gokuraku away. And, oh, look at this. Gokuraku went and found Itu's room and knocked on his door. And he's like, oh, hey, Gokuraku, what are you up to, right? And Gokuraku just is like, hey, listen, Ichan. After a decade, I finally got to punch Bakugami in the face. And our elder sister and all the people got their emotions back. I'm sure it'll be rough for them for a little while. And why I feel like I should stay here together with my father and elder sister and help them to form our country's future. Or at least that's what I thought I should have done before. Like, I really did. But there's this one emotion my heart is screaming at me. But right now, I just want to do something for you. And I want to help you. And I know this is going to sound dumb after I insisted on staying, but use me as much as you need, Ichi, right? And Ichi's like, hey, this is awesome. We see they do this really awesome fist bump as narration just repeats the prophecy that we got from Jiki Shiron all so long ago. Traveled to the joyous land of Bakugami and acquired the magic which slumbers there. Do so, and you shall receive a stalwart companion who will fight beside you. And that's where we end this chapter of Ichi the Witch. This was just so beautiful. a lot of us knew this is where it was going of like, yes, Gokuraku is somehow going to be told, you don't need to stay here anymore, go do what you want to do. And honestly, I thought it was going to be handled into the way where all the town's going to like push him away, just be like, no, we don't want you here, almost like locking him out to where he felt like he couldn't stay. But this was honestly done in a much better way. Like I said, as much criticism as I give these manga series, I can't write anything better, but just a really good chapter of Ichi to Witch, and honestly, the chapter I wanted to finish out this video on, right? But with that, let's go through and just rank all of these chapters. As I said earlier, I think the Ekiden Bros is going to be getting the bottom of the list, and right above it, we're going to put Order of the Flame, and would you believe it, right above it, we're going to put Ultimate Exus Kyoshi. Those are just the three chapters that I had the most conflicting emotions on. Did I think any of them were bad? No, but I feel like they were all, like, 4 to 5s out of 10s. Not terrible, but also, like, yeah, sort of, after that, how do we want to do this? I think we're going to start to top, and if you tell me there was a better chapter this week than Ichi to Witch, I'm going to look at you and pretty much tell you that, no, I think you were lying. There was not a better chapter than Ichi to Witch. Right underneath it, we're going to put Blue Box, followed by a Witch Watch. Honestly, I think we're going to throw Ping Pong Peril next, because that was honestly just a really weird series, and I did just enjoy the first chapter. We'll put a Hima 10 underneath it. And what does that leave us with? We have the Elusive Samurai, Harukaze Mound, Akane Banashi, Kaidegami, Kagurabachi, and Kill Blue. Probably we'll put Kill Blue next. I think we're going to put, no, we're probably going to put Harukaze Mound on the bottom. Above it, we will put Akane Banashi, and, what are we going to do from there? Okay. I already did Kill Blue. Kaidegami, Kagurabachi, and the Elusive Samurai. Honestly, I think we're going to put Kaidegami next. Let me remember how to spell this. It's Kaedegami. Kaidegami. I'm pretty sure that in this series title, Gami means God as normal. Like, I say this because I talked about this series tying off an Amagami sister on this channel for all of 5 weeks straight and promised, guys, I want to be caught up on this manga, 1/5 videos by the time the series ends. And I think it's ending like next week or something stupid. And I'm like 10 chapters behind. Definitely not my shining moment, but that's how I do it sometimes. But knowing that series, Amagami means sweet god. There's a family called Inugami, which is dog god. And I just don't know what Kaide means in Japanese or Chinese or however we're translating this. So, yeah. Then we have Kagurabachi and the Elusive Samurai. It's honestly a toss-up, because at the end of the day, I feel like Kagurabachi was the better chapter, but I think I just got more enjoyment out of the Elusive Samurai. I'm gonna be real. It feels really weird to put Kagurabachi so far on the bottom, but I don't know, man. Just, this chapter wasn't my favorite. I don't know if I'm just a grump or whatever, but sort of is what it is. Of course, going back to all of that ranking, we started off with Ichi to Witch at the top, going to Blue Box, Witch Watch, Ping Pong Peril, Hima 10, Kill Blue, Kaidegami, the Elusive Samurai, Kagurabachi, Akane Banashi, Harukaze Mound, Ultimate Exus Kyoshi, Order of the Flame, and Ekiden Bros. And my character of the week, I think, is just going to be Kyo from Blue Box. I just really like the whole idea of, like, yeah, I wasn't being selfish or anything. I did it for my personal enjoyment of my life, pretty much. I thought that was just a really nice way to phrase that and be like, no, I'm not a good guy at the end of the day. It's just, I wanted to see her happy because it makes me happy as well. And yeah, that's really all of the stuff we got to say here. I'm definitely glad I kept this one under an hour. I've been recording for 56 minutes. I think I'm going to have to cut out like maybe 2 of that, maybe at most. But with all of that, let me go ahead and finish up all of this. Of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, thank you guys so much for watching it as normal, and I cover plenty of other issues of Weekly Shonen Jump. I've covered every single one since, like, issue number 43 of 2024, so we're almost, like, 10 issues away from getting to a full year of me talking about every single issue of Jump, which is a little bit mental, but I wouldn't have it any other way. But if you guys did enjoy this video, there will be a playlist link with all of those videos in the description box of this video or on the end card of the YouTube video. Of course, this series also goes out on many other platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and By many other platforms, I just mean the big podcasting platforms. If you listen to it on a different, or you want to listen to it on a different platform, just let me know and I can try my best to get it on there. I know it's on Podbean because I have looked it up on there before because I was just curious, and honestly, I couldn't tell you any other platform it is on. So if you guys want it somewhere else, just let me know and I will try my best to get it there. But yeah, for all that out of the way, just thank you guys so much for watching this video on Weekly Shonen Jump, issue number 32 of 2025. And yeah, Gokuraku, my goat. Blue Box, Kyo, my goat. Witch Watch, Morito. How can you get, like, entranced into all of these things so often and somehow make a really funny chapter all about it? I don't know. And Ping Pong Peril, I can't wait to read more of that in the future. So if that, this will be Glowplasma 231 saying Ping Pong Peril 5 times fast, signing out. Ping Pong Peril, Ping Pong Peril, Ping Pong Peril, Ping Pong Peril, Ping Pong Peril. Was that 5 or was that 4? I don't know. See you guys next time.